do that?
I don't know.
Can you say building trust?
Building trust at its pace.
Welcome to Marriage Minutes.
No, you didn't want me to say that. You wanted me to say, welcome to Marriage Minutes. Today we'll be discussing building trust in the relationship.
At his pace.
At its pace. That's what you wanted me to say.
I don't know if I trust him to say the intro. All right.
How about that?
Anyway, we are going to talk today about building trust. Trust is one of the key components to having a successful marriage. And oftentimes we go in loving our spouse's dirty draws, but not trusting them completely and complicitly. And we end up, as soon as our unmet expectations surface, or as soon as my spouse or I do one thing that's contrary to what we believe to be true, that trust is broken. And so we want to talk today about how to get back on the horse of trust so that you continue to prosper in your marriage. Because guess what? Your marriage cannot prosper without trust. It can prosper without some love sometimes. It can prosper without even some sexual intimacy sometimes. It can prosper even without finances sometimes. But it will never, ever, ever, ever prosper without trust. What you want to say?
No, I think that's huge. Trust is it's always building. You know, it's a day by day thing that you're putting into the relationship, and you're building the trust, you're building the love. And so when you mess up, you know, certain things you know, it's like, oh, 2 steps forward, oh, I messed up today. Then you come 1 step back. You know, but it's being placed in situations that allow you to produce and allow you to come through in that situation. It's like, oh, okay, you got me. All right.
So trust simply is this: believing that your spouse is going to do or say or believe as they say they are.
Yep.
And so that quiet confidence comes because you show up in the marriage every time you say you're going to show up in the marriage. I show up in the marriage every time I say I'm going to show up in the marriage. And when I don't, I am woman enough to admit, he is man enough to admit, I messed up. I did not mean to break our trust.
That's the hard part.
That's the hard part. But here I am again, praying that we can begin over again. But I can't be frustrated and mad because we have to start over again. And it really comes down to your marriage pictures and all that stuff that maybe built you to the person that you are. Sometimes people have trust issues anyway. Some people are more vulnerable because of their childhood and all that kind of stuff. So what do we do once that trust is broken?
What I think you said.
Who's responsible once that trust is broken? The person who broke the trust, or the person who doesn't feel like they can trust anymore?
I think it's the person who broke the trust, that they have to accept responsibility, and they have to have a willingness to do the hard work. As much as most of the time people don't want to do the hard work again because they just feel like, well, I just messed up a little, so then I shouldn't have to go all the way back to the beginning. It's like playing Monopoly, you know. Oh, I gotta go all the way back to go. Wait a minute, I'm at Park Place, and no, you gotta go back to go. Like, you know, you gotta go back to the beginning to a certain degree, and it's hard because you feel like, why should I have to go that far just for this little offense, you know? But the thing of it is if I'm responsible for it enough, I think being accountable and taking responsibility is the first 2 steps in building that trust again. Because if you're not even at that point, why would a person be willing to even invest in allowing you to build trust again if you're not even willing to accept responsibility and have a repentant heart and make changes to correct whatever character or behavior flaw that presented itself?
I don't think rebuilding trust has a lot to do with being perfect.
No.
I think that it has more to do with being mature. And like we say often, our ability to have a good marriage really is based on how we decide we want to roll. There are some mornings I get up and I'm full of Rhonda. And so our marriage is bound to be attacked by the enemy because Rhonda is running it. But there are other days when I wake up and I realize that this is God's thing. And so then I try to do things differently. Those times when I'm Rhonda is when our trust is broken. But I have to be woman enough and mature enough to say, yep, I did that again. And now I need to come back to the table and figure out how to fix it. It's on me.
Yeah.
It's not on Mark.
No.
It's on me, because that person has already been vulnerable. That person trusted you. That person believed that you were going to do what you said you were going to do, and you didn't. So it's a constant. That's the thing about building trust. It is going to be a constant ebb and flow. And you have to take in consideration where your spouse began, right? If you're married to somebody that started in the whole trusting anybody because of their past life, then you are going to have to give them a minute to get to ground zero, before you knock them back down again.
Yeah.
But that's what we do. We end up we take this person, like Mark talks about all the time, this is my worst enemy and he's my best friend. He's my worst enemy because he knows all the buttons to push, and he knows how to break my trust in a second, just like I know how to break his trust. Yeah. Anyway, so trust is super important. Yes. It is believing that the person you are connected with is going to do or say or believe like they said.
Accountability and responsibility.
Yeah. And then rebuilding that trust is on the person who broke it. They have to come back to ground zero and do whatever they need to do to rebuild that trust. And here's two more things, and then I'm done. Oh.
And work within the boundaries that may be set up to build that trust back. Right. Because it's just like, when I broke trust with my wife, I don't necessarily get to come back and enjoy the 4-bedroom house. Mm. I may just get a chance to sit in the foyer for a while. And then I may get to the living room. And then because of my time and the effort that I'm doing trying to build the trust back, guess what? I'm in the kitchen. I can open the refrigerator. I can get the last piece of chicken. But over time, then I'm enjoying the 4-bedroom house again. But it's a process, and you can't be mad because if you're still stuck in the foyer and you can't get, to the upper room, it's just work. You got to do the work.
Right. The person who broke the trust does not get to determine how long that process of rebuilding happens. But also, I'm not letting the person off the hook that is responsible for receiving that or building that trust up, because that person has responsibility also to try.
Yeah.
You cannot continue if the person is showing you.
Come do
right.
This.
If the person is showing,
come on, I got you. Come do this. Come do that.
If the person that is really trying to rebuild the trust is really working hard, you can't sit there and punish them over and over again for the rest of their lives. If they've proven that they have set good boundaries and are doing the right thing, you eventually have to trust. Let me tell you this, and I'm done. Mark talked about him breaking the trust, and he did a really good job with trying to rebuild it. But I was stuck in that, like, I ain't really forgiven yet. I'm gonna get the revenge. And you know what shocked me out of that? He eventually said, "Right, I have proven to you this, and this. I understand that you are afraid, but it is unfair for you to not even consider the work I've done to try to make this relationship better. Instead, you're going to crucify me and crucify me and crucify me." So it did take some it took some time for me to figure that out and to accept that and say, okay, I have to, if I'm staying in this, if you're staying married, eventually I'm going to have to trust him again. But a lot of that came from me learning how to trust God more too in my relationship, and not just put all of my trust in him. Because
honestly, more trust in God than anything.
Right, because he's going to mess up again just like I am.
And I did.
You don't mess up.
I did mess up again. Oh, I did.
So did we teach you anything about building trust? You need it.
You
got to keep it. And if it's broken, you got to fix it.
It can be built.
And that is how you build trust at his pace.
Be well. Be blessed.